In the Netflix movie Shimmer Lake, viewers get to watch as Sheriff Zeke Seitz takes justice into his own hands. Recognizing that people within the system have escaped justice through the judicial system, he decides that he's going to go after them himself by killing them. Now, although his methods seem unorthodox, it highlights a critical theme, that sometimes systems can be corrupt, and it's critical that we take justice into our own hands. Which reminds us of today's quotation today. Martin's dead, Malcolm's dead, Medgar's dead, Bobby's dead, Jesus is dead. They tried it peacefully. We're going to try for something else. By the trial of Chicago 7. Now, what the trial of Chicago 7 are trying to say is that systems and government can be corrupt. Therefore, change is necessary and must come from outside forces. And to understand this, we can look at 2 key points. First, how change must come through non-traditional means to allow voices to be heard. And second, how we can lead to more effective changes within the status quo itself. But first, when we look at today's quotation, we can agree with it and come to understand that outside change is necessary because through non-traditional avenues, we can allow for voices to be heard. And to understand this, we can look at 2 key examples. First, the case of the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was a group created in the 1960s and early 70s, designed to bring voices to Black citizens throughout the United States. And they did this through non-traditional avenues. Recognizing that the door to politics was closed to them, they decided to change the system through outside forces. One such example was through the free breakfast program. Recognizing that state and local governments were never going to be able to provide adequate food to Black citizens, the Black Panther Party took it upon themselves to help their Black citizens and Black neighbors by providing free breakfast. Now, for the people who were most impacted this, the Black Party's actions helped them, and it allowed their voices to be heard that they were suffering from food insecurity, highlighting that sometimes change needs to come through non-traditional means so people's voices can be heard. But second, we can look to our second example of Dan Reynolds. As the lead singer of the band Imagine Dragons, Dan Reynolds is no stranger to having privilege, and recognizing that he has privilege, he decided to bring awareness to one cause that isn't commonly known about: suicide of LGBTQ youth in the Mormon Church. Recognizing that it wasn't getting enough attention, Dan Reynolds used his voice and influence as the leader of a band to bring awareness to the suicide of youth within the church. By hosting various fundraisers throughout the country, he brought awareness and effectively brought voices and allowed voices to be heard, highlighting how sometimes non-traditional avenues provide better chances for voices to be heard. But second, we can come to understand that through non-traditional means and outside change is critical because it allows for more effective change within the status quo. And we can understand this by looking at 2 examples. First, the case of SNCC. Founded as a Student Nonviolent Coordination Committee, SNCC throughout the 60s and 70s brought change within the system. Throughout 4 years from 1965 to 1968, they helped bring over 200 Black politicians into office. Although they weren't associated with the political parties at the time, they brought change to the status quo, highlighting how sometimes outside forces are necessary. But second, we can look to the case of Stacey Abrams and her organization of Fair Fight. After losing the gubernatorial race in 2018, Stacey didn't give up. Instead, she founded Fair Fight, and just last year alone registered more than 800,000 new voters in the state of Georgia, helping Georgia win the Democratic seat and allow Joe Biden to win the presidency. In the case of Stacey Abrams, we see how her work outside the system allowed for change within the status quo, which highlights how critical it is. When we go back to today's quotation, Martin's dead, Malcolm's dead, Medgar's dead, Bobby's dead, Jesus is dead. They tried it. We're going to try something else, the trial of Chicago 7. We can agree with today's quotation today and come to understand that systems and government can be corrupt, and sometimes it's necessary for change to occur from outside. As we saw in our first case, how it allows for voices of minorities and people to be heard. And second, how it can lead to more change, effective change within the status quo. Although going back to Shimmer's Lake, although Sheriff Zeke Seitz's methods were unorthodox, he brought about change within the system, highlighting how critical it is.